Good morning to all my listeners. This is Shanu here again, and today we are again in the same episode of Seek the Truth, and the truth shall set you free. So, when we seek the soul is the truth. Let's go within and seek the truth within. So, today I've come up with the most important aspect of life, which is either we are alphas or we are betas or we are gammas in our own perspectives. Now, many people ask me, what is an alpha, what is a beta, and what is a gamma? To tell you the truth, since we're going to talk the truth over here, all these three aspects are the three mindsets or the consciousness in which each being, irrespective whether they are men or women, they live with this kind of principles. So there's an alpha principle, there's a beta principle, there's a gamma principle. And if there was another word, there will be another fourth principle too. I'll come up with that very soon. I'm searching for that word. Now the most important thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to talk to you about 20 plus principles to check if you are in the category of an alpha or not. So here, irrespective of whether you're a man or a woman, we're going to talk about the soul here, irrespective of your physical appearance, irrespective of your caste, your creed, your culture, your race, your language, your ethnicity, your food habits, doesn't matter. There's an alpha in everybody, irrespective of all these bodily conscious aspects of our life, which we focus on so much. So here comes the first one. Let's talk about the alpha men and women, or the alpha souls. The first thing which alpha beings are driven by is they are driven not by any desires. That means they have total control over their five senses. They are the ones who aspire or who work towards all the weaknesses within them to be in their control before they leave this earth plane. The main motive on this earth, or the main ways of living on this earth, is to find a balance between their desires and their needs. So they work towards making sure that they don't bring any kind of harm to anybody else just because they've got desires in them. With desires, I mean not just sensory desires, but there's a deeper level of desire which we're going to discuss in the next point. But before I go to the next point, let's talk about the sensory desires here. So the sensory desires, like wanting things, desiring aspects of our lives, and surrounding ourselves with those aspects on a daily basis. They live with the bare minimum. They learn to live with the bare minimum. And why do they do that? Not because they want to be somebody who is renunciating things in their life to show to other people, but they know that when I give up certain things, it helps many other people who are in need of things to have those things with them. The most important desire which we human beings are gripped by is the desire of pleasure of the skin. You see, the most important aspect of today's any person's desire is to be in the senses, the sensual pleasures which are taking over every being today, is leading everyone to lose their grip over their wisdom, the wisdom which depends upon how I feel about myself and how do I feel about others. When I am all about feeling about myself, and when I am engrossed in my own desires on a very deep level, the sense of feeling for the other person reduces day by day. And this is what makes us more cold. You see, an alpha being is a leader. He doesn't have a cold heart. But yes, he is cold towards weaknesses, but he is warm towards strengths. Now, an alpha man or a woman or a being will always make sure that they can give up all their needs and desires as much as possible, so that not just they can do the good for their own family, but they can even do better for the whole community or the city or the surroundings which they are living in. Most of the alpha men and women are animal lovers too. They love animals, they love beings, they love plants and trees, they love the whole of the nature, and they'll make sure, or they'll learn how to not bring about any kind of destruction to either human beings or to even animal planet or even to the vegetation all around. The most important aspect is they'll work in tandem with nature. They are those beings who will work along with nature and bring about harmony. And they will strive throughout their life to bring that harmony every single day. You know what happens to an alpha being? An alpha being will not be sad if you speak harsh words to them, but they'll feel bad or sad if they find that they have done something in disharmony and brought about any sadness or any kind of unhappiness to any being in this world, irrespective of whether they are humans or they are animals. They are very compassionate. One of the most important strengths of an alpha being is compassion. They can do anything or they can go to any heights to help people out, keeping their desires at the back. They'll do anything to make sure that they bring about love, harmony, and peace through their nature of compassion around them. So, here comes the second point when they're doing this. The point which has got nothing to do with the physical desires, but something which is going to the sixth sense. The five senses is something which you spoke about, but now we'll go towards the second point, which is towards the sixth sense. Sixth sense means the soul, the desires of the mind. You see, we want to be fulfilled on a physical basis. We want those homes, we want the house and the car and the jewelry and the clothes and the bikes and everything else. Those are all wants. All those desires are good enough provided they only are good enough for you yourself as a being to survive with the bare minimum things around you, just to fulfill your daily needs. And when we are using them, all those things which I've spoken about right now, when we are using them for the sake of improving somebody else's life, exactly, one is I can use it for myself only, and I can keep on increasing those desires and those wants, and I can keep on having those things more and more in my life. Or I can use those things to bring about change in somebody else's life. Then the whole aspect of desire and want and need changes. I need things to help somebody else out. It's different from I want things or I need things to fulfill myself. This is what differentiates between an alpha and a beta. An alpha would be somebody who will need things or maybe have a desire of a thing just to make somebody else's life better. And it might not be just one person. It could be many people, because alphas are leaders. So here, when we talk about desires, let's come back to the desire which is of the sixth sense. So the second thing is, the sixth sense or the mind or the soul has also got desires, not just of the physical nature, but something which is known as a non-physical nature. And this is known as wanting name and fame from people around them. An alpha being is somebody who runs away, far away, as far as that being can go, from desiring any form of name and fame from anybody. They don't need that. They are in love with what they do. They are in love with what they can do for the world, for the society, for themselves, for other people around. They are so engrossed in those kind of desires of improving themselves, desires of making their life better, much better, not just to want that name and fame and any kind of validation from anybody around them. They are doing all that just to give back something to the world, just to give those values to the world, just to be an example in front of others that yes, it is possible to live without desires. It is possible to live a life of simplicity. It is possible to live a life of blessings from people. You see, when we have desires, we are not able to fulfill other people so much because we are engaged in fulfilling ourselves so much that it is difficult for us to have any blessings from anybody else. We are so busy in blessing ourselves every single time with material gains or material non-material gains like name and fame that we forget everybody else around us. And a being who is in desire of material things, who is in desire of name and fame, is not an alpha at all. An alpha is connected with the Supreme, the one who is giving. Even in nature, we call oceans as the Supreme. We call the sun as the Supreme in nature. Why? Because they're always giving. They have a nature of giving. The sun doesn't stop to give. The oceans don't stop or cry out that I don't have enough to give you water. It just gives. It's being used every single day in different ways. The ocean gets used. The sun rays are getting used. We're just getting them. They never stop. They never cease to give. And alpha is a being who's always in the mode of giving, and he can only give, or she can only give, or let's say the soul can only give irrespective of the gender once they're fulfilling themselves. So alpha beings are always engaged in improving their life in some way or the other. We might see and think that on the materialistic way or in the materialistic foundation they might not be moving anywhere. We might see no movement in them, but they are like that atom of the earth which we cannot see, which we cannot even get into, but they are down there somewhere. They're deep down, like that volcano, like that lava in the core, which is just reforming, molding, getting that energy into it, getting that heat and warmth in it. It is just developing, and one day it's going to come out and spill over the earth. Exactly. That is what they're doing. They're like those scientists. The scientists in the world might be focusing on things which are on the technological basis, improving those things on technology, on scientific basis. But alphas are the scientists of the inner science. They're working towards improving their own self, their own values and virtues. They're everyday striving towards making their own habits and behaviors which others can follow. Such behaviors which others can live by as an example. So they are ready to live a life of leaving a legacy. They work or they think or they talk on the basis of what exactly is the impression, what exactly are they going to leave back on this earth. Like we talk about the carbon imprints, we talk about what exactly are we imprinting onto the earth, what are we leaving back, like the carbon dating which we do in the scientific levels. When we talk about alpha beings, if you look at the alpha beings who have been there on this earth, if you name a few of them, you might be knowing a couple of them. I could also name a couple of them, but let's not go over there. Let's not go into any being. Let's talk about the values which can be seen in all those beings. So the values and the virtues which they work upon, let's say if they're working towards discipline, they're bringing about discipline. Every day they try to wake up early in the morning. They're trying to meditate, or they're trying to work out their physical body. They're trying to become better also in a meditative manner and also on a physical manner. So they are working on both the areas. They might fall one day, they might get up early in the morning, they might not be able to get up early in the morning, but they are striving every single day to make their lives better. They're trying to be an example first for themselves, and then they're trying to be an example for somebody else. Not because they want any kind of name and fame. They know one principle very clearly in their mind. They know it very well, that once I have reached the epitome of whatsoever I can do at the moment, at the present time, if I have become a better version of myself, if I have done something to improve myself, then automatically I don't need to work towards name and fame. It is something which is like a shadow which will follow me. So their aim or their main foundation is not to have any materialistic desires. and their aim is not to have any name and fame. So, guys, my friends, my listeners, I'm going to leave you over here with this thought about being an alpha being. Think about, reflect back in your life. What are the things which you are working towards? And maybe you might need to think about changing the direction of your thoughts. Maybe you need to think about changing the direction or the attitude of the way things are being done. Because in one form, when I'm desiring something, I'm always lacking, and nobody in this world can fill me up other than I myself and the Supreme Being, whomsoever we going to call it, the God, the energy, the Alpha of the Alphas. So I leave you with this thought. Take care. Goodbye. See you again in the next episode of Alpha Men and Women, the Alpha Beings.